Hey guys,
Hello again.
podcast 5.
Number 5. No.
Yeah.
This'll be.
Yeah, it's number 5 because Craig Neal was. No, sorry, you're right. Number 6. My goodness gracious me, I can't count.
Boom. Do you want to start again?
No,
Okay.
let's
fine.
just yeah, mistake, warts and all.
Warts and all.
Yeah, so podcast 4 was just Adam and I. Craig Neal was podcast 6. What Craig guy?
5.
5. I've done it twice.
Your brain is not working,
Oh, it's been a
Christopher.
long 2 days.
Do you know why it is? Because you're wearing a hat.
Oh, am I keeping my brain in?
You can
I keep getting slagged off for a Peaky Blinders haircut, so I've put my hat on for a couple of days. Even like we have a Facebook group for the shop, and Adam put a GIF in, which was Tobey Maguire being angry with his long hair in Spider-Man 3, and be like, "This is Chris in the morning." So I am being mocked. So anyway, how are you, mate?
I am good, mate. I am very well.
What's been happening? We've returned from the UK drum show.
Yes, what an amazing weekend. It was so much fun. So many drums, so loud.
Yeah. I think as a punter, it's a way better experience than a retailer.
Oh yeah. by by a country mile, man.
It was great. I got to see Benny Greb play.
Oh, you did? Did you catch his performance?
I caught his gig. It was an evening with Benny Greb on the Saturday, and it was split in two. The first half was a clinic, and the second half was a gig
Oh wow,
with
cool.
his moving parts trio.
I didn't know that. I thought it was just a gig.
No, it was a clinic, and I didn't want to go to the clinic because we have him coming up,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I didn't want to go and see that kind of stuff because we'll see it.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to kind of.
But then I suppose like everyone who's seen Benny Greb, even people who have seen Benny Greb multiple times on the same clinic tour, say that no two nights are really all that
Yeah,
similar.
I know, but we were also podcasting. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. Who are we podcasting
We were
with?
podcasting with Ali Richardson, who'll be our next. That'll be the next podcast you hear.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so we were in our hotel room podcasting with Ali while that was on. So,
Yes. So
um,
if you're listening to this, sorry, Craig Reynolds, we got there first.
yeah, we did Craig Reynolds.
Sorry.
Ha 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 ha. Do you know what else we had? We had Bleed from Within beer.
We did. I don't drink, but I drank that night.
We didn't.
I
I'm
did.
sorry,
I did.
but that would have been extra cool. Yeah, what was really cool? One of the other really cool things about the Benny thing was that a young fella who was at the show bought his snare drum. We had a Benny Greb signature snare drum on the stand.
That's right. Yeah, we
The
did.
young fella paid for it, bought it, was over the moon. About 5 minutes later, the Sonar guys came to me and were like, Benny was playing a backline kit. It wasn't Sonar who sent it. It was a hire company, and they only sent one Benny Greb snare. So Benny played this young fella's snare and then signed it for him. He signed the head and gave him the drum.
Oh wow!
Like he was
cool.
on, he was still on the stage, and the young guy got to the front of the stage, and Benny was really cool. Took a minute, signed the drum, and handed it over. So that was pretty cool to see. I stupidly should have socialed it, and I didn't.
You did
stupidly
not.
didn't social it. Rather.
You had a little brain poop.
I did. I was also like 3 beers in, so at that point I was not.
And to be fair, you had a full drum show / set up for a drum show under your belt at that point.
I did. I had a long 2 days under my belt.
Yeah, that was a long
But
one.
that was really cool, and that's I guess the measure of Benny Greb is he takes the time to do that. Like still sweating from performing
Yeah.
for like 2 hours, and still is super cool.
Yeah.
And,
Goes-
takes the time with the youngins.
Goes to show what kind of person he is as well.
Yeah,
he's just
totally. Totally.
he's not in it just because he wants to play drums.
Oh,
He's like
he's a
a
super
very
cool dude.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So that was the highlight of the show for me. What was the highlight of the show for you?
Well, it was my first drum show ever.
Oh yeah.
Did you know that?
I did now.
Oh yeah.
I think I had forgotten.
Yeah, because it was just like everything happening at once. To be fair.
Yeah, totally.
So I didn't really know what to expect, but I thought it was really cool. Walking around the whole thing, seeing just like in one room, like the Mike Dolbear masterclass room, there was guys playing all day basically, and then coming out and then hearing the rest of the hall playing all day, which was great. And I didn't have earplugs up until like 12 o'clock. So the show to for anyone who wasn't there, the show starts at 10, doors open at 10, and it also means you can make noise from 10 o'clock. But what I didn't know was that the noise only lasts for 15 minutes. So people can only play drums or cymbals for 15 minutes at the top of every hour. So it's like, say, the show starts at 10 o'clock, they can make noise until 10:15, which is great. But when you're in a room surrounded by about maybe 200, 300 other drummers,
And then some.
and then some, all playing at the one time in surround sound. When you've not got earplugs in, that's a long 15 minutes.
It's a kind of full body, out of body experience. It's very, very strange.
A little bit.
And it's a really, really kind of weird feeling when a klaxon is the greatest sound in the room.
Oh, totally. I didn't. Firstly, there's a klaxon to stop everyone. I didn't
Yeah.
even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, what?
So when you start to anticipate that happening, you know it's going to be a weird couple of days.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But your body feels like you have a hangover. It feels like it's starting to vibrate because there's that much noise and just constant
Yeah.
for like 15 minutes.
All
Even-
around you.
yeah.
So like, there's maybe about like a foot and a half between me and Christopher just now. Christopher, I just used your Sunday name. I'm very
Thank you very
sorry.
much.
Christopher, the bread's here. Eh?
With the long hair.
The bread's ready. So with the Peaky Blinders haircut. Old joke.
So there's,
Yeah. So like,
surround sound chaos.
yeah. So like, there's maybe about a foot between me and Christopher just now. So we could be talking or trying to talk like we are just now. Meanwhile, right beside, on my left hand side, there's a guy wailing hell on a drum kit.
Yeah, and
You know.
kind of with a complete disregard for what it actually is at times, which was what gets to me a wee bit. You know that
Yeah.
they could be playing on anything,
Yeah.
but that's par for the course, and you know people are excited to be there, and it's a great buzz. And
Of course, it's
you
part
know,
of the atmosphere,
Aaron
eh?
Spears was just knocking around.
That's, do you know? Oh man, I didn't even think about that concept. Like, it's probably, if you ever go to a drum show, like I imagine the NAMM show is like that, the UK drum show on steroids.
Oh,
because
big time.
it's like all these amazing musicians that you spend countless hours watching on social media, whether it be YouTube or even from years, like even like instructional DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these guys are just walking around.
Yeah.
You
Do you
know?
remember we pulled up in the morning, or was it the Friday? Was it the Saturday
It was
morning?
the Saturday morning of the show.
Excuse me, and we pulled up in a cab because we had some stuff to get to the show from the hotel, and Chris Coleman walks past us and gives us like the biggest hug going because he hasn't seen us for ages.
Yeah, like,
It's just, that's a little surreal.
and he's like just like on his own,
Yeah.
nonchalant.
Just like, how's it going, guys? You know, haven't seen Drummers Only for ages. You will, and you're like, hey man, it's all very, very surreal, very great.
Yeah. You summed it up amazingly with the outer body experience
Mhm.
element, because it totally is. It's
Mhm.
like, man, like how can I just be standing here having a conversation with Aaron Spears
Yeah,
about
totally.
about beaters?
Yeah, you
know what I
were.
mean?
You had a low boy beater conversation.
I did, low boy beater.
I bought one.
You bought one
I
off.
did. I've done a gig or two with it.
How'd you find it?
It's cool. It's a bass drum beater. I
Yeah.
know that's going to sound.
It's a
like-
wood bass drum beater. That's,
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect. I don't know if I get more low end or not. The problem I would need, the problem is I can't immediately compare it to the bass drum beater that I used before because you can't fit two pedals on the one kit. If I had a double pedal, then I could probably work it out. I would,
Yeah.
you know, but I don't. So, but yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's
Yeah.
weighted well.
Mhm.
I like that. So I thought,
It's sturdy as well.
yeah, I just
like,
thought I would give it a try. You know, it's a
not?
bit hipster. I play a vintage series kit. You know,
it's basically like if someone were to design a bass drum beater for you.
well, thanks.
You're
Thanks.
you're
I
welcome,
think
man.
they've put Peaky Blinders on it. No,
Yeah, they just
Um,
etched it in.
yeah. So you know, much like the snare weight thing, I didn't really know what to expect. I bought that. I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, it was cool to try out.
Yeah.
It was cool to try out. So yeah, the show was a roaring success.
Yeah,
know,
you
it
were
was,
there for both days, eh?
3 days.
Oh, yeah, because you were there Friday.
I was there on the Friday where you were in Leeds doing the Leeds College of Music Freshers
Yeah,
Fair.
it was. That was awesome. That was good fun. Me and Jake went to go and do that.
Yeah, I
Good
bet
fun.
that was cool, meeting loads of new drummers. For
Yeah,
the shop.
just like very green to it all, and just
Mm.
you know, we had a stall set up, and we
Mhm.
had like kind of a flavour of what we do. Kind of, it was like almost like a warm up for the UK drum show a little bit. So we just had like gave out flyers. There was a competition going. There was just like everyone was so approachable and so nice. You know, like
Mhm.
they just coming up. They didn't know about the shop in Leeds,
Great.
so it was like, oh
Well, that's a
wow, I
bonus.
didn't even know you guys were a thing.
Yeah, cool.
All the other stalls were really cool. There was a home baking
Wow.
stall that
Did you
I
get
walked.
some home bacon?
I went across and I got some. It
Score.
was really good.
Yeah.
I think it was vegan actually.
Right. Was Paul
no.
Hollywood there?
I got a handshake. Yeah, it was good. What else? What else did I see? There was like loads of kind of retro games. In fact, actually, the stall across from us. Do you know the Slam Dunk Festival
No.
down in like England? It's like a pop punk kind of
Okay.
festival. Jake was like all over it.
Yeah.
But basically, they had like they had a stall right across from us that was advertising the festival. but also on the stall was like an old school, like, you know when you go into like arcades and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like the like House of the Living Dead
Pac-Man.
like game, yeah, like that kind of thing. But it was like a proper like zombie apocalypse game,
Wow.
like arcade machine game,
Yeah.
and you could just stand and play that all day if you
Sweet.
wanted, like for full free.
Sweet.
So me and Jake had a great time at that, and then I came from that to the
Yeah,
show.
and then we had to build a stand and put drums on it, and we won't talk about that because that was like
That was tough.
yeah, that was hard. But
But
yeah,
it's par for the course, isn't it, for the,
yeah,
for the
it is,
show?
it is. And we sold some gear. We sold 2 kits, 2 snares, pedals, that kind of thing. So it was
Didn't even
successful.
talk about the gear there, man. Some of
No,
the stuff we got was awesome.
Yeah, so we were at the UK Drum Show in conjunction with Sonar Drums.
In case you can't tell, we're very big fans of Sonar in
We
the
are.
shop.
So on the stand, and I'm going to use my I'm going to go left to right if you were looking at the stand. We had a 7-piece AQ2.
In titanium quartz.
Yep. We had a 4-piece ProLite and Elder Tree. In the middle, we had a very sensational SQ2 in light green lacquer with white hoops. And at the back, on the right-hand side, we had a 20-inch 4-piece vintage series shell pack and the new finish, the California Blue.
California
It's
Blue.
so cool.
It's amazing. And what's even better about it is, according to the guys at Sonar, the first 50 people to purchase the Sonar Vintage Series in that finish get a masterclass with Benny Greb at the Sonar Drums Factory.
And one of our customers is up there because he bought it.
Yep,
So
he did.
I need to actually check in for that and make that happen.
Yes.
And then in front of that, we had, hang on, I've just blown right past that. Benny Greb Masterclass.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to get yourself to Germany, but outside of that, it's in the Sonar Factory for free.
Yeah. And you're getting not a one-to-one, but a masterclass, a private masterclass with one of the best drummers
Do you think
in the world.
I should trade my vintage in for a vintage and a different finish.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
No.
Da
So
ya.
yeah, that's a pretty rad prize.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the floor in front of that, we had a 4-piece SQ1, 22, 12, 16 and snare and GT black, which is one
Yes.
you're getting, man.
Yes. I'm getting slightly different sizes, but I can't wait. Probably by the time this comes out, I'll have gigged it already.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
And then snare-wise, we had Benny Greb signature. We had a ProLite in Fiery Red, which is another new finish. We had a Gavin Harrison, and my brain's gone blank. I'm sure we had another one.
No, we had the 3 because we
Well,
had...
Sorry to interrupt. We got Aaron Spears' kit on the stand, which had a ProLite 14x5 steel with die-cast hoops.
Oh, okay.
So
And
we had...
his ProLite was Chocolate Burrow?
That's right,
Is that
10, 12, 16, 22 chocolate burrow, which is
Lovely.
gorgeous. It sounds amazing. So we have that in Leeds if anybody wants it.
Yeah.
If you want to have the kit that Aaron Spears played at the show,
At the time of recording this, it's still available.
as is the Chris Coleman kit, which is a SQ1 20, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 with a matching snare in Cruiser Blue.
Lots of drums,
Yep.
lots of configurations.
Yep. So yeah, a roaring successful show. Yeah, I think that's about all I really need.
You definitely get like post-show fever.
You get something.
Yeah.
A rest.
Well, for one, yeah, because I was at the show. I was at Leeds College of Music on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I was at and then Manchester
Uh-huh.
on Friday night. At the show on Saturday in Manchester, and then I was in Glasgow and here on Sunday. And I was working with Big Dave, so apologies for anyone who came in on that day and saw just me and Dave. But I was, a great Scottish saying is I came in like a burst couch, but I was basically I was more or less out.
Yeah,
I was here in body only, not
I
in
think
mind.
Big Dave had probably been touring as well, so yeah, cut a tired pair of you.
Yeah, but it's all worth it, innit, for a great
It
show.
is. And then
Okay,
off the back of that, the next night, you were off on the Monday, so you got
Yes.
home. I was back to work. I worked a show on the Sunday, back to work on the Monday. The Tuesday night we had Matt Garska in clinic.
Oh man, he was outrageous, man. Whoa.
I'm ashamed to say I didn't know enough and was mightily impressed. That
Yeah.
boy can play them drums, man.
Oh, he get like what I liked about his performance anyway. For anyone who didn't catch it, was he had a real kind of subtleness to all of his playing, and then there would just be moments where he would let rip.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah, he's got it all. He's got touch and tone and chops and groove and all the
Yeah.
stuff that people think that every drummer should have.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of got it all there, man.
Yeah.
He played some really bonkers music as well.
Mm-hmm.
Time signatures all over the place and metric modulations all over the place and fairly fascinating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He was up with, or he was on tour, I should say, with Meinl.
Mm-hmm.
So he was on the road for a week. I think they did most of the UK. He was also performing at the UK Drum Show.
Yeah.
He drew the short straw, man. He was on at 10 a.m. on the Saturday.
Oh man, I think he had quite a lot of people going to see him though.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
that's good. Because I can imagine that's a tough spot.
Yeah, opening the show.
Yeah, people are just in, and part of me thinks that maybe the first performance should be like 10:15.
A little bit, yeah.
Let
just
people get in, get a coffee, get.
get ready for.
But
the
they
day.
haven't said that. They've probably queued for like an hour. So.
Probably, yeah.
So yeah, that was amazing. He played all 3 of his signature products. He played his Equilibrium hats, China, and his Stack.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he played a Foundry. He swapped ride cymbals actually, which I thought was really cool.
mid-clinic, yeah.
He played a Foundry Reserve, and then he played a Byzance Drive.
It's an extra dry thin, right?
Yeah, it sounded amazing, man.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just generally played his socks off.
Yeah.
Really great crowd for him.
Yeah. it
Sold
was-
out,
it was
asked
awesome.
loads of cool questions.
Mhm.
He hung out, we ate burgers.
We did.
You
We
know.
did 8 burgers. Yeah. We
so-
did 8 burgers.
So all in all, a really great clinic.
He was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
so again, it kind of is. It's another one on the chalkboard of awesome clinicians we've had in the shop.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So, yeah.
For sure. So that's like a brief catch up, of kind
Pretty
of what's
much.
been happening.
Yeah.
What's been happening.
Well, while we're speaking about Matt Garscott, a lot of the things that he kind of referenced about when he was doing his clinic was things to do with the studio. And during his performance, an example of which was when he switched a couple of his cymbals out for different options because certain tracks just sounded better with this type of ride cymbal or this type of splash cymbal or whatever. So kind of on the back of that, we were going to talk things about the studio.
Yeah, we just got to talking about it today. About like what's great gear for recording, and like we sell things like 1 million pairs of Zildjian new beats a year. Because
Some say they're the go-to studio hi-hats.
exactly.
That's an inside joke.
Yeah. And it just got us thinking about what gear is great for recording versus what gear would you use live. Like Paul was actually in the studio recording. So today is Tuesday, the 1st of October. Paul was actually in the studio recording drums yesterday. And Paul's great for like just mixing gear up. He's really not precious about like it all saying Sabian on it or whatever. So if you saw the Instagram stories yesterday, you may have noticed the kit he was playing was like an SQ1. He had a matching snare. Plus he's got his own Pearl anniversary maple shell with like single flash tubes. But he was using like a conglomerate, if you will, of cymbals. So he was using
Nice
some
use.
Zildjians, but he was using young Liam's ride cymbal, which was a Sabian Artisan. And then there was like this weird stack thing that the studio had put together that just sounded amazing.
It was Louis Abbott who put it together.
It was Louis
Yeah.
Abbott, shout out,
Shout out.
who put that together. So like what would be cool for the studio? I mean, what experience have you got using gear in the studio, and like did you chop and change stuff out? And
I feel my studio experience is quite limited compared
Right.
to others. Every time I've done it, it's just more or less a situation of what have I got? Okay, let's just make it work kind of thing.
Okay.
One of my very first experiences in the studio was with my originals band back in college days, and we recorded at the studio that sometimes we got lectures at.
Okay.
So it was at the Foundry Music Lab in Motherwell.
yeah. Shout out to those
shout
guys,
out.
yeah.
Owned by Graham Duffin of Wet Wet Wet.
Mhm.
And Sandy Jones, the engineer, he's just an engineering wizard. So he was kind of, I suppose, in his mind, or to him, I felt kind of bad for him because he was tasked with having to put all these students through their first recording process, which can't have been easy,
No.
because not everybody is always the best player.
Excuse me. Well, I choke.
Oh, it's okay, Chris. It's okay. Just. Oh, Chris is now. Oh no, he's still alive.
I am.
Okay.
Sorry. Back.
He did collapse on the floor for a little bit. I was thinking about giving him CPR, but he's fine. He's all right. Oh no, maybe not.
Yeah, I think I'm okay. Water went down the wrong way.
Okay. That's what they all say. Cyanide. I'm joking. Wait, what? Yeah.
So yeah, Foundry
Where
Lab.
was I? Foundry Music Lab. Yeah, sorry. So he was kind of plagued with having to teach all these students like this is what it's like being in a studio, and he was actually, he was great because he gave us all an experience of what it would be like had things progressed to an actual official kind of studio. Like,
Right.
He was quite like, no, you're not playing that part right. You should be playing it like this.
Oh,
Almost
okay.
kind of producing it a little bit.
Yeah.
But some of the gear, what did I take in for the first time I recorded? I took in a set of all Sabian B8 cymbals,
Oh goodness.
which are fantastic cymbals. Don't get me wrong. Just not the best in the studio. What I found,
No, they're probably a bit too bright.
they're far too bright. It sounded like every time I had a crash, I was also catching it.
Mm.
So it was like, psst.
Yeah.
Not the best. I also had my first drum kit, a Tama Imperial Star,
Mm-hmm.
with I want to say it was like a Pearl 13 by 6.5, just steel
Mhm.
shell drum.
Man,
Not expensive at all.
but great though.
Yeah,
It's best for the studio. Super
Mhm.
versatile, and if you can tune it well enough,
yeah,
you know. Yeah.
which I could not at the time.
um,
Sounded like a bag of washing, but it's
like
fine.
famously, like Smashing Pumpkins' first album, Jimmy Chamberlain used a Pearl Export.
Really?
Yep, that
Oh, no
that
way.
record was recorded on a Pearl Export and a Yamaha steel snare,
Wow, brilliant.
and it sounds amazing.
Uh-huh.
It's like the drum sound is great.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, if you've got the right tuning skills,
Mm-hmm.
those kits and stuff are easily doable.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Because we get a lot of customers in here, young customers who are maybe interested in getting a first kit, but they want something that's reliable for both the studio and
Yeah, for
live.
sure.
Pearl Export's great for that kind of stuff.
Big time.
you know?
Right heads on it. Get it tuned up.
Exactly.
Um,
I think on my Tama kit for the first recording I had still had all the original heads on it, and they were all dented as well.
oh, really?
So if anything, shout outs to Sandy for making that kit sound passable.
yeah, for sure. I mean, the microphone's only going to pick up so much, So you don't sometimes don't really need to worry so much about it.
Yeah.
I think really as long as you can tune it. I
Yeah.
think the first experience you get is that your drums you could go into the studio, right, and your drums sound amazing, but through the microphones they sound really different.
Mm-hmm.
So you've really got to spend time working with that. But I do think, if it's great at source, i.e. the instrument's brilliant,
Yeah.
then it's going to be much easier.
It's just going to make life so much easier.
Yeah. One of the first experiences I had was not too dissimilar back when I was a younger lad playing in a band, and my drum kit was like, it was at the time I think I had a Honor. So to put it into perspective, that's like a Pearl Roadshow or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like really cheap, low end. And I go in and we set it up and it sounds like it sounds, and then the guy pulls out like a 90s recording custom
Whoa.
and set that up for me. So I was like, okay. Like I didn't know what it was, and I know what it is now, but
Yeah.
at the time I was just like, oh, it says Yamaha on it. I bet that sounds great. It sounded amazing.
Of course it
You
does,
know.
yeah.
And it was Steve Gadd sizes, so it was like 2010, 12, 14 and all that
Oh,
kind of stuff. So
perfect.
it really was. So I got lucky in that the engineer and the owner of the studio had really great gear. He's actually still a customer. Here's a guy called Simon at Small Town Audio down in Ayrshire.
Wow.
I don't think he's got a room anymore, but he does a lot of live work.
Mhm.
And he was really great because obviously he knew what that kit was going to sound like. It was his kit. He knew how to kind of get it sounding great.
Did it have a snare drum with it?
No, but I had a Yamaha 14 6.5 steel shell.
Oh, perfect.
Like a stage custom 8 lug thing. So
Mhm.
again, you tune that right, tune it a little bit higher, and it's gonna you can't lose really with the right heads and the right tuning. So that kind of worked out. But I did learn a value in good cymbals because I had a Paiste 302 ride, which was really bottom end.
Mhm.
I guess that's like a PST3.
Yeah.
So it's just going to sound bright and kind of high pitched. And for me, I think darker stuff works so much better.
So much easier to
It's
work
like
with.
cymbal wise anyway.
Mhm.
My experience. I've recorded in different bands with a variety of different cymbals, and anytime I use darker cymbals, they just work.
Yeah.
Way quicker. Because they don't bleed the same way into the microphones. So if you hit like an A custom crash versus a K or a
Mhm.
K custom, the A is going to be so much brighter in the mix
Mhm.
and so much louder, but the kind of darker stuff will tend to just balance more.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I have done cool stuff, like I've experimented with different bass drums and toms.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a record with a band I was in 2 or 3 years ago, maybe longer, in Chamber Studios in Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And Graham in Chamber has got 2 really lovely kits. He's got a 70s stop sign badge Gretsch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think that was 24, 12 or 13, can't quite remember, and a 16-inch floor tom. And we put that up and we did a take, and it was like the toms are magic, but the bass drum just was missing something. So he then pulled out a Pearl BLX Birch bass drum. So we did like Pearl bass drum, Gretsch toms, and I think I used a Yamaha 13.6.5 brass like yours.
Yeah.
And it just was great drum sound. Like that Pearl bass drum was just killing.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really magic. And the Yamaha snare, it was a rock record, so the Yamaha snare was perfect.
Just
you know.
spot on, yeah.
Yep, didn't really have to do much to it at all.
Meat and potatoes, man.
Yeah, man. So it was really cool though to just try different stuff.
Uh-huh.
You know, try different bass drums out.
I guess that's the freedom you have in the studio versus live, because live, obviously, like purely for image purposes, I suppose it all has to kind of look at least like it's matching, especially if you're in the point where you're in a band who've got a record deal, you've got endorsements.
If you're on a production or something, it's got to look the part.
It needs to look and kind of like have a certain image about it, you know, and like to keep brands happy and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in the studio, you've kind of like, there's no eyes on.
No,
you can't see the music.
Certainly if you've got the time.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I totally get, like, you know, if you've got a 300 quid budget in 6 hours, you know, that's a very, very different thing. So yeah, I totally get all that. I'm trying to think. We did a second album with that band, and I'm trying to think what I used on that. I can't remember what kit I used. If it was the same, I think it was the same Pearl kit. I really struggle to remember, but I did have like different cymbals that day. I had my Istanbul rig, so I used like an Istanbul Agop, medium hats. I used a traditional 17-inch Crash, dark Crash, and also used some Sabians as well.
Oh, cool.
So that was, you know, different flavours in the studio. And I had my Yamaha brass again, but we also tried out a vintage, like a 60s 402.
Mm-hmm.
But what was really weird is it just didn't work.
Oh, wow. That's
It just,
really interesting.
yeah, it was, because, you know, those are the drums,
That's
right?
like the studio drum, yeah.
But it just didn't suit the sound, man.
Mm-hmm.
So we used our ears a wee bit, and we listened back to some stuff. We're like, nah, man, just use that Yamaha. Just it suits the sound of the music way more.
Yeah.
It was way more coherent.
Yeah. Because the brass is got to be darker, right?
Yes, and it wasn't as dry as the aluminium. You know, and I just think the brass had more power as well.
Yeah, of course.
So, you know, you can look at it, you know, you start to get really nerdy in the studio, and you're looking at waveforms, and you're looking at, you know, consistency and all that. And the Ludwig, whilst it was beautiful, just was not the vibe.
Yeah.
You know, so we changed that out. I've also used a snare drum on a record and totally regretted it.
Oh, see, what one?
So when I came out of college, I had my own kind of jazz rock thing, and I did an album, and I used a Yamaha 14x5 copper drum, and I really wish I hadn't.
Why come?
Because
why come?
Why come?
How come?
It was too dry.
Really?
When I listen back to it, it's like, man, that sound is just too dry.
What head did you have on? Do you remember?
It was an Ambassador, but it was like the wires were really dry, and it just didn't. I hadn't tuned it right. I was on a time limit. We did 8 tracks in 8 hours.
Whoa!
And that was including multiple takes.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was really hard. I would never,
hardcore.
ever do that again.
It's just like unwanted stress, isn't it?
It is, but I was on a budget, and with the band I had worked out how much I was going to pay them, and so I could like, look, I've got this amount of money. Can you do it? And they were like, yeah, we can do it. Thankfully, we had gigged the music, bar 2 tracks. So it was only really just the guys weren't happy with the solos they played, and we would redo takes, because you can't. None of it was clicked, and it was all really complicated music and time signature changes and that kind of thing. So we didn't have the luxury of copy and paste. which a lot of studios do now if you're on a click.
What did you use to record it?
Drums.
Yeah.
My recording custom. I had a recording custom at the time.
No, I mean like what program did you use?
Oh, Pro Tools, but none of it was clicked.
Oh, so you just opted not to click it?
Yes, it was all live takes.
Right, okay.
It was too. I would have had to have spent weeks tempo mapping it.
Right.
When there was tempo changes and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And with solos, you don't necessarily know how long the player's going to play for.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you want to shoehorn them in a bit and say you've only got 64 bars to solo, or do you let them just go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I chose to let them just do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
The drums wise are recorded on a Yamaha recording custom. I had a Yamaha recording custom at the time. So 2010, 12, 14 with a 14 by 5.5 copper snare. And it was all Sabian cymbals, Artisan hats, 20-inch Artisan ride, 19-inch Extreme Crash, an 18-inch AEX Studio Crash, which I still maintain is one of the nicest cymbals ever made. I've still got it. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Really warm, really thin, opens up really quickly. Just really great cymbal.
Yeah.
And then an Ozone as well.
Nice, just for a little bit of trash.
Yeah, but what was really cool about it was the guy who engineered it didn't mic the hi-hats.
He didn't make it?
No.
I've been in that situation before as well. Like, they go over just using the
overheads. Yeah. The problem we had in the end was trying to mix it. Because there was points where the hats were like, they're a wee bit louder than I would like them to be.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what happens when you don't make the hi-hats, you know. But I thought that was really intriguing, you know.
Yeah.
And we recorded it all live in one room as well. So the band were all in one room. So there was saxophone, electric bass, electric guitar and drums. The amps were in a separate room. But you could hear the saxophone and the drum mics as well. So that was another reason we couldn't copy-paste.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So there was lots of bleed and that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
But the drums, I mean, the recording custom kit sounded amazing.
Oh, of course it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you still got it?
No, I sold that ages ago. I have a recording custom. I don't have that recording custom.
Right, okay.
And it's amazing sound of drums. You know, just tone, so warm and just that tone, man. You know, there's not too much sustain, so they just record tremendously well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
so it's not just a clever name.
No, it's really not. So yeah, that was you know, an interesting session. To sort of kind of pick and choose different stuff. And then I've subsequently done other things for other people. I've done the whole Ringo bit where I've put towels on the snare drum and all that.
Oh yeah.
Or like I think I put a towel on half of a snare drum and that kind of thing to get different sounds for people, which was I find really cool. You know, I just love the fact that the world is so open in that environment. You know, if you've got the time.
If you've got the time, you can just do it. One of the coolest recording experiences I've ever had was at Gorble Sound. I was very, very lucky and got to record at Gorble Sound with the same band, fun enough, like maybe about 2 years down the line.
Right.
We got involved with some kind of charity project, I think, and they wanted to record a song, but it had to be recorded there because they were filming it, or filming excerpts from the day.
Right.
So we were just like lucky number one, like band. You're in. And I was like, man, so all I'd really known at that point was the kind of college experience, which by then we'd done a couple of recordings and kind of like got the gist of it. Obviously, we all improved musically. All of our gear kind of got a little bit better as well. Sure. By that point, I think I still had my Tama kit, but I had like a Pearl Chad Smith snare drum, which I still have and still maintain that is a fantastic snare drum. Yeah. It's brilliant. And it
record well.
It did. That was, do you know, of all the gear I took, that was the one thing that stayed on the kit.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, there you go.
Cymbals changed, the kit changed.
Did you use the house kit? Because they've got a Renown and a Masters, or a reference?
Well, they've got a Pearl reference.
Right.
Not a reference pure. In fact, no, it was a reference pure, actually. Forgive me, it was.
Thinner shells?
Thinner shells. And it's the first time I'd ever played a Pearl reference kit, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is some amount of drums. It was amazing. The cymbals used, I had a full set of AEX. So I had the accelerator hi-hats, I had the 2 explosion crashes, and I had the stage ride, I want to say. Which are all great. They were amazing live cymbals. I do agree with what you say as well about the
darker cymbals.
The darker cymbals. Yeah. I still have my 18-inch explosion crash. I think it's a fantastic crash. It's brilliant. But we changed out all the cymbals. The only thing that remained the same was the snare, because it just, for some reason, I just hit it and the guy was like, cool, that's perfect. One thing I did encounter though when I brought my bass drum pedal in was we were going to do a take,
Right.
and the engineer was just like, man, like, just something's just not working with that bass drum. And I'm thinking it's a bass drum, and he's like, man, there's a horrendous squeak coming from the bass drum.
Oh no! Did
So-
you get bass drum squeak?
I got bass drum squeak, so he came in, and me just being totally green to the whole thing. I was like, I thought it was me, and I was like, oh, I can try and change how I play it. He's like, man, it's not you, don't worry, it's the pedal. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, I just need some WD-40, and I
Was
was
it
like,
your pedal?
it was my pedal.
Right,
It was
okay.
like a single chain Tama. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still got it from my first kit. And I was like, oh man, I don't have any. He's like, man, we're a studio. We've got like
Yeah.
a full cupboard of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't even know what it
Do you know
was.
what's really weird about that, man? Like, if you listen to some older Zeppelin stuff, the pedal squeak's like half the charm.
Really?
Yeah, like you go online and find it. I can't remember what songs it is. I think it's like Black Dog or something, and you can hear his pedal squeak.
That's cool.
And so many people are like, because it's a wee bit more real.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know,
We were a proper like bubblegum kind of pop band,
Right.
so they were like, man, we don't like if
Super
we're gonna do this,
cleaning, yeah.
we need this cleaning, clean as, bro. And that's also the first time I played some Minor Cymbals as well.
oh, cool. What did you use?
I had a pair of 14-inch sand hats, and I had a 20-inch sand ride,
Right.
which when I took them out and hit them on their own, I was like, man, these sound like interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I wasn't
yeah.
going to say bad because they don't sound bad. Everything kind of doesn't sound right without context.
Yeah,
behind
totally.
it. But in that song, it just worked. The
Yeah.
hi-hats were perfect.
Yeah.
Like, you know that way I was playing them, and I just wasn't, because they weren't what I was used to. I was so used to bright cymbals.
Yeah, yeah.
Those accelerator hats are just straight up pop punk. Like,
Yeah, right.
that whole kind of bright sound.
Yeah.
So when I switched to something, I guess, more kind of untraditional, shall we say, it was just like, what are these? But when I went into the room after I took a take, I had done a take, took a take, done a take,
Take a took.
take a chance on
Full
me.
of a took.
If you change your mind. When I went in and listened back to what I'd played, I was like, man, that like the cymbals sound great.
Yeah.
Like sound great. I can't remember what the crashes were. But I just know that it just the whole the drums themselves just probably one of the amazing best drum sounds I've heard.
Gordon, who works here, still maintains that the reference is the best live sounding kit he's ever worked with. 'Cause
Really?
Gordon,
Yeah.
he does a lot of sound engineering and live engineering, and really loves it. You know, he reckons for live, it's just they're hard to beat.
Is there like a perfect kind of wood for recording?
What a question! I think when we may or may not have a really what's the word I want, celebrated sound engineer guest coming on, so maybe we'll save that for him.
Maybe actually, yeah, that's a good call.
I mean personally, I've now recorded my Sonar kit as well.
The vintage. of it.
Yeah, the vintage series. I don't know if there is. I think, like you talked about, it's all about context.
Mhm.
So it really depends on the song that you're recording at the time.
Yeah.
You know, we listen to all these iconic records that had like way more limited gear
Mhm.
than we do now.
Yeah.
They say Birch is the best because it's pre-EQ'd. The tone of it, that's supposed to be the thing.
Mhm.
You don't really need to do that much with it in the studio.
Yeah.
But again, it's context, it's heads, it's tuning, it's the song, it's the size of the bass
The
drum.
player as well,
The
could be.
it's so much of it. The stick, the brush, So
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a perfect material.
Mhm.
I've never recorded acrylic. I've
No,
hardly
never.
played acrylic. I know some people that have, like Jamie McGrory, a friend of ours. He's sure he's got a Yamaha FRP snare, which is an acrylic snare, and he thinks they sound great recorded.
He's got a Vista Light as well.
He does have a Vista Light. You're right. But I don't know how he's got it, if he's recorded it or not.
Mhm.
I do know that years ago we had a customer who had an acrylic kit, and they came in because they were having a problem with the floor tom recording. They couldn't get, there was like a high end squeak whistle thing that they couldn't get out. So we had a hydraulic on the top and an EC2 on the bottom
Whoa.
in the end to just get rid of this tone.
Wow.
So it killed like all the tone of the drum because I think the shell was just thick and super bright.
Mhm.
So he was having a bit of trouble with that. But that's not to say, I mean, again, context, acrylic, pop punk could work really well.
Totally, yeah.
You know.
Totally.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that question, but we'll maybe
Yeah.
save it. We'll
Mhm.
maybe save it.
How was your first experience playing along to a click track?
Hellish,
Aye.
really hellish. Because I hadn't done enough practice. the biggest lesson I learned was take the accent off beat 1.
Take the accent off beat 1?
Yeah.
I've never heard this advice.
Yeah,
What is this sorcery?
take the accent off. Because then if it goes pear-shaped, there isn't an accent reminding you you're not on beat 1. So you could be on the click, but it could be, you could have played a bar of 5 and it won't matter.
Yeah.
Because then it can get chopped in and fixed and it's fine. So learning that lesson was amazingly valuable.
Yeah.
The minute I did that, it was much, much, much easier.
Yeah, just change
Because
the
you
game
can
a little
move and play in and out of the click, and it can ebb and flow and all that stuff that people talk about. But if you've got like beep, 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 the minute you hear that, it's like you freak out. I'm in a different bar. It's like if it shifts to beat 2 because you've turned the beat round, you start to panic, and then you stop a take. And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then that's more time.
Yep.
You know.
So take the accent off, and I guarantee it'll make your click life much easier.
Yeah.
The other thing I learned as well is if someone who's not you makes a mistake, keep playing.
Yeah.
And get a drum take.
Mm-hmm.
Like I learned that the hard way. It was like, I was in a band, Hercules Mandarin, I used to play, and we were doing an EP, and the bass player made a mistake, and I stopped, and the guys were like, nah, man, just you keep playing. And we'll just punch in. I was like, oh, there's my greenness. I had no idea that was
of course. And how would you know that?
Totally.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
like when I first recorded.
Yeah, so if you know the song inside out, you know, and can do it, then get it done.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things I learned in the studio was recording without any vocal guides. That's so hard,
man.
That's
a roast, man. Yeah.
I hadn't realised that was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
I was like looking at my singer like, why are you not singing, bro? He's like, because I don't need to. I was like, I'll save my voice for when I was like, oh, okay, great. I have to really think about this.
Yeah.
My jazz degree helped. Playing jazz music helped because there's no voice usually. You know, so keeping a form of a sudden
in your head.
Yeah, it became right, okay. So I got by, but yeah, I had to practice that as well.
Yeah.
And
one of the struggles I still have to this day, actually, we were just talking about it not too long ago, is not flamming.
Yeah.
That, like, which, when you're in a live context, it's live music, you don't notice it as much, but as soon as you're just kind of isolated out and soloed out, man, I never noticed how much my right hand and my left hand flam whenever I try and play them both at the same time. And with my left hand and my right foot.
Yep.
I never noticed this. It's still something that plagues me a little bit to this day, but like, man, when I listen back to old recordings,
totally,
some amount of quantizing must have happened.
Yep.
Like,
yeah,
man.
We've all been there, man. You know, you go back in and they're like, yeah, I'm just gridding you. Like, oh, thanks.
Oh, cheers, bro.
Can I not go and try it again? We don't have time. Okay.
Okay, cool,
and then
bro.
things like, don't hit the crashes when you think you should hit the crashes.
Yeah.
Like I've had masters come back and like, I just hit the crashes way too often.
Yeah.
That just is pointless. It works live, in the studio it sucks. He's like, man.
I think that's a really interesting dynamic. Like, trying to get the whole... Isn't it a bit kind of weird? You're trying to capture a live performance, but you can't necessarily play it how you would play it live.
Totally.
It's so backwards.
Because I just ruined songs, man. To me, I was like, see if I'd taken about 85% of those crashes out, that would be a much better song. I'm just hitting them because I'm used to hitting them, or because I think I should hit them, and then not really paying enough attention. Weird.
The thing that Sandy, the engineer, really drilled into me was I was filling every 4 bars.
Yeah.
So I would throw some form of fill, or I'd crash, or I'd like try and throw in a chop that I was absolutely not ready for. And it'd just be like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to play the song. He's like, man, but you're not. You're like, bear in mind that you're one instrument. There's like 4 other instruments that need to go on top of you. Like, you need to just keep that solid.
Yeah.
Meat and potatoes the full way.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, man.
It's really hard.
I was speaking to Alan Dale, actually, our shop pal Alan Dale, and he's like, man, if you really want to test how your patience and I guess your discipline, put on a click track at 120 and just play 4 on the floor.
He used to do
5
this
minutes.
with me, right? He would do that very thing in a lesson, and if I open my hi-hat stand, like, he would stop, back. If I played dum, get the dum, stop, back, and I was like, Jesus, this is hard. And he just drilled it into me for ages and ages. I still have a problem with it though.
Oh, of course.
Still
yeah.
have a problem with it. It's really weird.
It's a real test of
Yeah.
how disciplined you are.
Yeah.
But it needs to be like that in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, see if an engineer really wanted to, you could just play one bar.
Yep.
And they could just.
I wonder
Duplicate
how
it.
many sessions have been done like that.
I wonder. Yeah,
You
that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Perhaps we'll find out.
Perhaps. I've listened to like guys like Josh Freese talk about this because he's obviously session wonder kid.
He's
Um,
Casper the Friendly Ghost.
And he was like, he'll bring gear, but he'll walk in and if the kit's all right, he'll like, cool, I'll just use this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I might change out a snare drum. I may put up like a ride that I think will work, but you know, in the main, if it's all right, I'll just use the house kit.
It works.
You
Yeah.
know, Dave DeCenzo, this really great Boston bass drummer, teaches at Berkeley, spoke about that as well. Like, he turned up to do a session, and he's like, there was a 75 Sonar kit there with the OG heads.
Whoa.
Sounded amazing.
Mhm.
Played that. Like, man, we get so hung up about it, but then it's also cool to have your stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think it makes people play better because they're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
This is why I'm even more flabbergasted by clinicians who come over and they're constantly playing hired gear and still sound incredible.
yeah.
Because for me, even if it is just a snare drum, it's like a comfort.
Yeah.
Like, even if the toms are different, cymbals are different, stands are different, whatever,
Yeah.
pedals different. Like, in fact, maybe not the pedal. If I had my own pedal and snare, I would be like, okay, let's at least try this.
Yeah.
Let's give this a go. It must be so hard, man. Turning up, like, I remember seeing, in fact, just when we were talking about UK Drum Show, like watching Chris Coleman like set up his bass drum pedals and then
Mhm.
go out there and absolutely blow it out of the water.
Mhm.
Like, just wow, like phenomenal. If that was me, man,
Yeah.
I would be freaking out.
Well, that's
Like-
Mike Johnson spoke about. That's one of the reasons he plays the DW 5000 because he knows wherever he goes, it's going to be the same pedal out of
Yeah.
the box. It's going to be exactly the same. He doesn't use the 9 because he just doesn't want to get so dialed in on a setting that he
Mhm.
can't find that setting when he's on a tour,
Yeah.
on a clinic tour or something. You know, so
Mhm.
he just uses the 5000 and uses the out of the box settings. Huh? Okay,
Yeah.
little tricks. You know, so
That's why I use the 9000 with the out of the box settings. Just even if it's uncomfortable, still gonna do it.
So yeah, it's kind of the studio's a weird and wonderful thing.
It's amazing actually. Like, I think there's no kind of better feeling when you're sitting, if like, and you're in the studio either by yourself, if you're doing a drum take for someone, or if you're in with a band, and you listen back to a take that you've recorded and you're proud of it as well. You're like,
Mhm.
man, that was just like sounded great. And the real test for that is when you listen to it like 6 months after, and you're still
Yeah.
happy with it. You know.
Yeah, I think so. I think if I try really hard not to listen to anything I've ever recorded,
Yeah.
because I just don't. But if it, you know,
Well, I suppose I understand that because you'll never see it from a perspective where you've never listened to it before.
yeah, totally. And if especially if it's music that I've written.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, because you're far too close to it. It's
Yeah,
like,
way
it's your
too-
baby. It's
Yeah,
totally,
yeah,
like-
way too biased about it and all that. If I'm going to do that, I take sort of more pleasure in listening to the musicians who've played on it.
Mhm.
I've had guys play some really amazing things. I've had great vocal takes. And I'm like, wow, that's just killing. You know.
Yeah, totally.
The other thing that we've not spoke about all of this stuff is the guy behind the desk being amazing. Because I had,
Oh, yeah.
I used to have a snare drum. It was a Yamaha. I was a Yamaha nut, Troops, before, you've heard me
Can
talk
you
about
tell?
I had a Yamaha 14x5.5 bamboo snare. And now this was a
What?
snare that I had seen like in adverts in old magazines or drum collections, And I'm like, what is that? And I came across one on eBay and it cost me like 250 quid or something. I got it for an absolute song and I got it delivered. I took it out of the box, I hit it, I was like, I hate it.
Oh no.
I hate it.
Why?
And-
What did you not like about it?
Just the sound of it was just like, I
What
can't
did it sound
really.
like?
It was really.
Do you remember?
Well, I'll get to that, right?
Oh,
I'll
okay,
get to
okay,
that.
Okay.
So then I subsequently like, okay, I've just spent a load of money on this, so let's be rational. I had a control sound head on it, changed the head, changed the wires, brilliant. Really like it now. Put an ambassador on it. I put 42 strand wires on it, totally unique, great. Took it into the studio, and the guy just made it sound like a totally different drum. And it sounded awesome. So this is really weirdly arrogant, but the drum intro to the podcast of our podcast is me.
Mhm. Oh, okay.
So it was an album. It was off an album that I'd recorded. I wanted something drummy, and that song. That's how that song starts. It starts with the drum beat, and it's that snare.
Oh wow, cool.
So it's that snare that you. So if you listen to this podcast and you hear that groove, it's that snare drum. And I tell you, man, it did not sound like that live.
Wow.
And I eventually sold it because it was really, really thin.
Uh-huh.
I just thought it was like really one dimensional, and in the end, it could only really get cranked mid to high. It didn't have a low tuning. It didn't sound great low. But this dude just made it sound. I don't know what he did. He spent some time EQing it and messing around with it. And man, those guys are really worth their weight in gold.
Absolutely. It's the same with a live engineer as well. You can
Yeah.
tell when a band's not got a great live engineer
Yeah.
because just everything. Oh, I suppose it's probably easier to spot if they don't have a great live engineer because everything's just kind of all over the place. Same
Yeah.
with a recording.
Yeah.
But man, just what a difference! Just
Yeah.
like
And, you know,
someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
knows if you're in a studio, they know the room you're recording in, because that has a major impact on how everything
Totally, yeah.
sounds. You should check out. I'll link this. You should check out. There's a guy called Alex Reeves. He's a session player in London. He did the last. I'm sure he did the last Elbow record. He certainly went on tour. He played on the live stuff with Elbow. He's a Sonar guy. He plays a vintage series. He did an article and a video series for Sound on Sound magazine called Drums in a Room, where he would play. He took the same preamps, the same mics, the same songs, the same drum kit, same cymbals, and recorded it in 6 different rooms. And the difference in the drum sound is unbelievable. So he recorded it from he went to Rack Studios in London or
Yeah.
Air Studios to little bedroom sessions to an office thing, and it's unbelievable the difference in the drum sound.
Yeah. Was there a best one?
I would need to re-listen to it. I've not listened to it in ages. But the whole thing was to just prove to people how much the room makes a difference.
Yeah.
So when you've got a guy who knows the room because he knows the studio well and knows the drums, that your drums sound. It doesn't matter what you do; they just sound amazing.
Yeah.
So I was really fortunate that guy just took the time to just make that drum sound better. You know, and it wasn't till I'd heard a kind of before and after, whoa, dude, you're some sort of wizard. You know, just knows he knew Logic inside out, or was it Pro Tools? I can't remember. I think it was Logic 9 he used. He knew that program inside out. He knew the plugins inside out. He knew the room, but he didn't know the drum. And just got
That was the only variable.
Yep.
Yeah.
And me,
Well,
the player,
that as well. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
just killed it. Just absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant,
You know,
man.
so yeah, I think even after all that chat about what's the right gear to use, you're in the hands of someone else, aren't you?
Totally. And I've also heard it the opposite way as well, where it's went horribly wrong.
Oh, for real?
Oh yeah, man. One of my friends in college actually, it wasn't at the same studio, it was a different studio that has since now closed down in Glasgow. I think it's now a cat cafe actually.
Oh, okay.
Do you know where I am?
I think
That
so.
kind of area of Glasgow. And the guy was just yeah, metal band. And they were like, yeah, man, we've just finished recording an 8-track EP. Do you want to hear it? And I was like, yeah, sure, man, why not? Because because why not? And just everything was just so
no.
I don't know how, but the snare drum just sounded fuzzy. You know that way, as if you know how sometimes if you've got a dodgy cable and it goes,
Oh no.
it sounded like that, but every time I hit the snare drum.
Oh.
And it
It's
also
like
sounded as
peaking
if
or something.
yeah, and it sounded as if you had some sort of a bass big muff going through the snare drum, and the drums just the whole thing sounded horrific.
Was that the sound they were going for?
No,
Oh,
no. But he was
no.
like, man, can you hear that drum sound really crystal clear? I'm like, yeah, man, that sounds awesome. So it does. Did you record that? What did you use to record it? He's like, I just said, I just the engineer just taped everything, just put tape over everything.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, okay, fit. So I can, in my head, I was like, okay, that's super, super dry, of course. You
Yeah.
need a dry sound, of course. And he was like, yeah, and then he just put loads of effects on the drums. We just kept telling me add effects to the drums and it just sounded great.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, okay, I see where this has gone
Yeah.
wrong. And I'm like, man, a competent engineer in my mind anyway would know or have the foresight to be like, guys, being honest with you, this is not going to sound great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again,
I have had an engineer have to redo a click track because the guide track was out of time.
oh no.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had been asked to do something for a guy I know, and he sent me all the tracks, and then I, learned them, but I had to learn to ignore the click
Oh, that's hard, man.
and play with the guitar, but then I had to play with the click because the guitars were only guides and they were going to get redone.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was really strange. It was really hard, and I did not envy the guy that had to the engineer. It was the same engineer that did the snare drum thing that I was talking about. Same guy, because I think he's great. It's a guy called Spad, Barry Reed. He plays for the Treacherous Orchestra.
Oh, cool.
So he's very, very talented man.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out.
One of the weirdest recorded experiences, not weird, but it's an experience I had at Chem 19, actually. Right. It was Jamie Savage who recorded the band at the time. Same band again. And like the song we were recording, it got me to play the song, but I had no cymbals on the kit. It was just the drums.
Dude, I was just going to get to that.
Oh, no, wait.
That's cool, yeah.
Oh, so like I had to, but he was like, play it as if the cymbals are there. And I was like, okay. So done a couple of takes with just drums, literally just hitting drums.
Yeah.
He's like, cool, man, now we're going to do the opposite. So you're just going to hit cymbals, but play the song.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay. I've never experienced this before.
Did it work?
I did, yeah. The drum sounded incredible,
yeah,
because obviously everything's all soloed out.
Yeah.
Like there was you weren't getting the bleed that you would get in a snare microphone from the hi-hats, because the hi-hats weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, man, blew my mind. And like the drums, honestly, he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna put the two takes together now. And like obviously after a few EQ things, it was like, whoa, that kit sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty trash.
And I used a Gretsch. It was a Gretsch Catalina Maple, which I still have.
Right.
Big 22-inch bass drum, man, and it just sounded like a cannon.
I'll bet.
Thunderous.
Have you ever done any recording with electronic drums and right into a computer?
No, I've never done it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Life easier.
Yeah, Superior drummer, a DTX.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was messing around one day. I had a KT10, a snare pad, and I had an SPDSX plugged into a computer.
Whoa.
Yep.
All right, David Guetta. No
did
worries.
a demo.
Aye?
Yep.
Wow.
Easy.
How did it sound?
Like, I mean, it was a Superior drummer thing, so the plug-in sounded amazing.
Yeah.
So
Did it feel real though? Like, did it sound like a real?
yeah, because it's like real recorded drums.
Yeah,
so
I know.
So the samples, it sounded fine. Yeah.
Because I've heard like people who have recorded before, it does sound still a bit glitchy.
Yeah.
That's cool though. Have you still got it?
I think so. In that, either Superior Drummer 2 or what's the other one? I can't remember the name of the program. Gets used a lot in Nashville.
Does it really? Wow.
So like you probably don't even know that it's been electronic drums that have recorded the record.
Wow.
And I know a lot of people now are using like sample replacements for snares and stuff, or augmentation of a snare with a sample.
Yeah.
There's a website called I Want That Sound. Really great.
Oh yeah.
Really great sample library.
Is that Paul Maybury?
Yes, that's him. Yeah. So he does like a whole load of free samples that you can download and you can buy. You can check out what libraries there are. And there's some really great, sort of really interesting percussion sounds and that kind of thing.
Did you see the recording he did in an aircraft hangar?
No.
Man, he just like set up some drums in an aircraft hangar.
Amazing.
And put some I think he put 2 overheads. And just the drum sound was incredible.
I'll bet.
Like, the most reverby drum sound you could ever hear. It was brilliant.
Proper natural reverb.
I'll need to show it. In fact, if I can find it, I'll let Chris put it in the show notes.
Cool.
Below.
Yeah, so, and I mean, one of the really cool things you get with all that stuff, if you're into it, is that you get like a variety of different sounding samples that might just suit more than the gear you have.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of maybe counterintuitive for a drum shop to say, but it really depends on what you're trying to get done with the recording, you know?
Yeah,
you can augment really great gear.
And it also goes back to what you're saying about the time and, you know...
Yeah,
like,
totally.
If you've got time and you've got the equipment, if you've got 5 snare drums that are all different materials and you've got the time to chop and change them and find which one works best, then that's great, but not everyone has the budget or the time or the equipment to do that.
But, I mean, even the drummer program on Logic itself is really great now.
Yeah, it's great, yeah.
So they do, like, you know, the samples that are there, the way they've got, I think they've got, like, they call it producer kits. I think there's about 12 different kit sounds, and you can tune them and tweak them, and it's like, all of a sudden you're going to get really pro drum sound for your demo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's come like Craig talked about actually, how Twin Atlantic right now, those drum samples have come a long, long way to help him produce a really great demo before he goes in and even records the drums.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty rad. Have you ever had to, I know you touched on it briefly, but like really drastically change a part?
Yes, I have. And funnily enough, this is probably one of the only instances where we've changed the part for recording purposes, but then we changed it back for playing
really?
it live.
Oh, wow,
yeah,
cool,
it was
okay.
a bit kind of bizarre. So we were playing. It was Gorble Sound again. So we were
For those of you who don't know, Gorble Sound's a really top end studio just round the corner from our shop.
Yeah,
it's a great, like, Fratelli's record there, and
Churches recorded
there. You know, a whole bunch of people. So
Yeah.
anyway,
so we recorded there, and there was like a middle 8 section before the kind of last chorus that we changed up, and I just played a slightly different groove, and it worked great in the recording, but like, being honest, it was very uncomfortable for me to play.
Right.
So the band then switched that, because we had that almost like a live element anyway, because we only ever played the song live. We hadn't demoed it, we hadn't recorded it. This was just us going in to do all that process at the one time. So then we had it a certain way in the recording, but then live we just changed it up and used it as like a crowd participation moment.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so, sorry to interrupt. So
No, it's
when that recording session, and you changed out all your gear,
Changed out all the gear apart from the snare.
did it make you play differently?
A little bit, actually, yeah.
So what did it change?
It changed my approach, firstly. For some reason, I sat a lot lower than what I usually do.
Right.
Like, I had, like, my knees were, like, up to my chest. And I'm not a tall guy, but, like, yeah, it was weird because, again, it goes back to that whole, I had my snare drum and I had my pedal, so I was comfortable in that respect, but I was also in an environment that I was very uncomfortable in. And it's like, you know what it's like in the studio. All eyes are on you, or like in a room, you know, and you know that like every nuance of your playing is going to get picked up by these microphones.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit scary in that kind of way. So I guess my playing changed because I was like, oh, I'm in a really like amazing studio. I want to show these guys that I can play, you know. And it's quite funny actually. It kind of almost goes counterproductive because you try and do stuff that you just can't do.
Yeah, totally.
In front of guys that you really don't want to see, that really don't want seeing that you can't do this. You know, and you know. But
I remember being at college and we got a studio recording class, and we would record something, and then we would go into the control room, and the lecturer blew up the waveforms between me and the bass player to just show how far apart we were.
oh no.
Yeah, that was pretty savage stuff,
man.
So you got to learn. You got to go away and just play together for ages, so that it
Yeah.
gets tighter and tighter and tighter, which I find really fascinating. You know, because that takes like years of doing. So you see how those studio guys get paid tons of money because they're amazing.
Do you know, I've just remembered this one experience I had there. I was in helping out my friend in the Foundry actually, in a recording studio in Motherwell, as I've mentioned before. And I was helping out my friend, and he had a kit, but it was like your Session Pro,
Right.
like basically just one up from like the PV bass amp drum kit. But he had all the original heads on it. He had a like kind of like really, really, really low budget steel shell drum. The bass drum was quite shallow. I think it was like by 16, but it was a 22, 12, 13, 16. And just, I don't know what he did. And I know this because the engineer showed me that he hadn't augmented anything. But when I came through to the control room, just the sound that came off that kit was unbelievable.
Really?
It was one of the best drum sounds I've ever heard.
Huh?
Purely because the boy knew exactly where to hit it. He
Wow.
knew exactly where to strike the drum to get the best sound out of it, because he was obsessed with playing.
Right.
He just played drums every day, and that was his kit. And so when the
And
engineers,
it still had the original heads in it.
it still had the original head,
Wow,
and they were
they're
all
like paper.
they were all clear heads, except for the snare drum, which had a very beaten up ambassador on it. And just, I don't know, man. And even the engineer was like, I have never ever heard a kit that crap sound that good.
Wow,
Like,
there you go.
And he just knew exactly how to hit the drums. Like, he just knew where to hit them. Kind of goes back to your Jimmy Chamberlain. Sorry, and not that by no means am I suggesting that exports are crap.
No.
But I'm just saying, like, if you know how to strike the drums, it's like half the battle.
Wow.
And he just knew exactly where to hit the snare to get the best pop out of it.
Wow.
and you were to hit the toms to where they were at their dead spot.
How were they
Just-
tuned?
They weren't. Basically, he just he didn't really know how to tune drums. He just more or less beat them into submission. And he was just like, "Cool, you sound great." And then he just, because the engineer was just like, "Oh, you need to bring a drum kit," and he was like, "Cool." So he brought a drum kit. He brought the only drum kit he had, and it just so happened
Fair
that
play
it
to
was
the boy.
a Session Pro, and it sounded amazing.
Is he Josh
Like,
Freeze?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a
You're-
wig, yeah.
You're really good pals with Josh Freeze.
It turns out, yeah. But I was mind blown. But if I can find a recording, I'll try and link it below. I don't think it exists.
Okay.
But,
How-
or now it exists.
How long do you think before things like EAD10 are pure normal in a studio?
Not as long as I would think.
You know what I mean? Just fire that right in a laptop.
Yeah. Boom.
That's crazy, isn't it?
hmm
Crazy.
I think, regardless of that though, you're always going to need a room.
Yeah, and you're going to
Right.
need an engineer and all that. But like, if you
Yeah.
know, if you want a decent, or you want a pure punk lo-fi demo,
Mm-hmm.
man, fire. Just get the guide track, fire that on,
Mhm.
knock it out, send it away, done.
Done.
You know, live sounding sounds really cool, authentic.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen some of those videos that Simon's put up with like, this is the sound off the EAD. Like,
Uh-huh.
whoa, dude.
Dude.
Party on, man.
I'm excited that things like the EAD 10 exist
Mhm.
because it's kind of like I'm cool. This is amazing that this exists, but what's gonna be here that wasn't here 5 years ago?
Yeah,
That's
man.
even better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Between that and between electronic drums getting better so that they pick up more ghost notes, the pads get much more sensitive.
yeah,
Looking at the eMerge kit, it'd be really interesting to take a line out of the eMerge kit into a Logic and see what happens.
mm-hmm.
Because that's got a microphone inside it as well as the wave technology.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So you can, you do the Benny Greb finger thing where you play a side stick and then touch the snare with your fingers. It
Mhm.
picks that up.
Wow.
So without any of the weird latency or anything like that, it's going to be really intriguing to see what you can do with electronic drums for recording.
Yeah.
Fascinating, man.
I think the only way they can further improve it is if they just get like an AI robot to just come and play the drums for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you buy the kit, you get the drummer.
Uh-huh.
You get someone to do your session.
Mm-hmm.
Be amazing.
I mean, how realistically, right? And I might sound like a pure Y2K,
Mm-hmm.
like the world's gonna end kind of thing, person. But how long or how far away do you think it is to where it is literally like you say, like you buy a kit, and it's like, man, do you want to buy a Josh Freese sample pack? And
Well, you
it's
can
like-
already do it, man. You can get, I Want That Sound's got artist series packs.
But what I mean is, what am I
Well,
even trying to
Loop
say?
Loft were doing it. There's a company called Loop Loft
Right.
who were doing, like, you could buy Eric Harlan playing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a loop of him playing something.
Right. Okay.
So it's already out there.
Oh, okay. In that
But
case,
I
I'm
don't
just
know how far it would go, because I don't know that the market's ready to accept that yet. So to pay Josh Freese to come and do 2 days in a studio versus what you're going to make back selling the loop pack,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that equates yet.
Yeah.
You'd be as well just employ them to do the session.
Mhm.
It'd probably be cheaper.
Probably. Yeah.
But I don't know what you mean. It's really fascinating. I don't know that acoustic drums recording will ever go away because you're not moving air with anything else, and you can't really beat that sound. Guitarist friend of mine's really into that. Like, he had a Kemper, which is these amp profilers that you just plug right into the system. You don't carry an amp, so it's without the PA, it makes no sound.
Mhm.
But they sound super authentic. Like, you can get Eddie Van Halen's guitar sound on it, and it's like Eddie Van Halen.
yeah.
And he loved it for a minute, and then was like, just live, I'm just not moving any air. I'm just not getting. I want that amp sound back.
Mhm.
And when I saw Benny Greb last week, Chris Montague, who was playing guitar, was frightening, and his sound was a real core thing. So
Mhm.
you've got to try and replicate that in the studio. I think would be too challenging.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that'll ever fully take over.
Mhm.
Like they thought it would in the 80s when drum machines were going to make the drummer obsolete, but it
Mhm.
just didn't.
Yeah.
808s and 909s are great, and Simmons pads are great, but a drummer's still a drummer.
True. Yeah. True.
But who knows where it'll go?
That's what I mean. Like, I'm trying to think of even what I meant by that. Like I had it in my mind. It's like, man, like, how far away are we to where, like, you do turn up to a session and like next thing Thomas Pridgeon or something like that's like on the grid already, and he's like, I don't know.
Well,
I'm
I mean,
more thinking out loud.
No,
I think.
I think because there are remote sessions, so you know, it's no problem for you to get Russ Miller if you're a bass player.
Mm-hmm.
And, you could turn up as a guitar player and you're playing with Russ Miller. I've played with Damon Manchella from Ocean Colour Scene.
What?
I've never met Damon Manchella.
Mm-hmm.
He did the bass on when the track with the stuff that I did with the guy who had to fix the click track.
Mm-hmm.
Damon Manchella played the bass on that.
Whoa.
But I've never met the dude.
Yeah.
So, that kind of thing already kind of happens where, you'll easily get remote tracks done. And it was remote because the guy who put it together was living in London.
Mm-hmm.
So he just sent me the tracks. I did the drums, sent them back. He was over the moon, sent them to Damon, who played the bass on them, sent them back.
Mm-hmm.
He then played the guitar and vocals.
Wow.
So it's all I've been on a record with Damon Manchella. Whether or not it's ever seen the light of day I don't know, but you know what I mean. That's already there.
Yeah.
So, you could, if you're not a drummer, you could quite easily turn up and be playing with Pridgeon and never actually know.
Mm-hmm.
Never have a clue.
Yeah.
And I was remember reading and listening to a guy talking about Josh Rees, and he'd done a session on drums, and a week later came back to do a session on bass to find out he'd been replaced on drums. You know what I mean? He was like, "That's not me," and he was like, sorry man, yeah, we switched you out. And he's like, all right, okay.
Have you ever been in that situation? Have you turned up to the studio and your drums have been replaced by someone else?
No, because any recording situation I've been on has been in a band.
Right,
really.
okay.
Apart from that one kind of session thing I did. So,
I haven't either, but I was just curious.
So yeah, I'm not on. I don't have any prolific recording career where that would be a thing.
Mm-hmm. Imagine like just getting into the mindset of someone who has been replaced. Like, man, that must be like pretty hard to take in.
Well, only if you find out.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
Because I mean, these guys that ghost drum on stuff, and the band never know.
This is where I always like thinking about the psychological element of this. So, imagine you're a young drummer in like one of your favorite songs, like, and you think it's this drummer when it's actually someone who's like Josh Freese, and you don't even know it, but you think it's like someone else.
Yeah, totally.
Like, man, just
that's when it comes. It's like, guys have got a sound. Then know if if you go and see that band live, and you're like, that's not how it sounds when I listen to it.
Yeah,
funny. But I guess that's just to get the track right, man.
Of course, yeah. That's
sometimes that's the way it's got to go.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, that's a lot of. That's pretty deep, bro.
It was pretty deep, but like it's just chat, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's chat. It's stuff I've always kind of thought about, like when you listen to a record, like, man, like how are they getting that sound? What are they using on that sound? Like, have you got to the point yet where you can identify a drum in a recording? Because I know that there's some guitarists who can identify if something's a Gibson or a Fender.
Oh man, I don't know. Like, I think I could probably blind test drummers.
Right, more than the actual gear.
Yeah, and then by law of deduction,
just by association,
knowing what they play, I could probably do that. But I don't think I could just be like, oh, that's a Black Panther blade snare.
Yeah,
like
I reckon I could. I think I could maybe pick out a Black Beauty, a Ludwig Black Beauty.
Oh, I'm not. I don't think I could.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think I could. I think I maybe like on an old school recording, but anything post 80s, 90s where effects and processors and all that changed. Yeah, probably not. I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. My ears are not that good.
Right.
I mean, I could probably take a punt at saying I think that's brass, I think that's maple, but I would probably be drastically wrong. And I remember when the shop did a clinic, its very first clinic was with a guy called Ron Daller, 2006, and he did some sessions in New York, and he let us hear this track, and he was like, what kind of snare drum is this? And everybody was like, it's like a 14x8. A 14x7. He's like, nah, it's like a 14x3. And we just managed to make it sound absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
So there's all that wizardry goes on. So
course,
I probably would struggle to do that. Like, but I could probably identify Alex Van Halen really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like he has a sound, man. He has a sound. So I could probably hear him and go, yeah, I think that's Alex Van Halen, or I think that's Vinny, or I think that's Dave Weckl, or Jimmy Chamberlain, or do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
out of context, I could probably hear them and be like, yeah, I think that's like that.
Yeah, totally.
Having said all that, do you play Rock Band? You ever played Rock
Oh
Band?
yeah,
Do you know how
totally.
you can get isolated drum tracks now?
Yeah.
So all that stuff's on YouTube, so you could probably find out. You know, you do a Green Day track and you hear the drums like, oh, it's Trey playing Ludwig. That's what that sounds like. You could maybe teach yourself to do it. I don't know. You know, but you could like certainly identify Ringo straight away.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Dave Grohl straight away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then you don't know what they played in the studio.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of.
You know,
it's,
did
it's
Dave
an
play
unwinnable
Tama
game.
on those Nirvana records? Who knows what Butch Vig had in the studio when they were making those records? You know, so. Did they play Yamaha? You know, like there's all those stories of guys just hiring in Gretsch kits for the studio and because they apparently sound great.
Yeah,
you know, who knows?
It's amazing as well. Like, how many instances do you think? This is just where my brain goes, right? I like, if I was a stoner, like this is gonna be like, dude, what about like? How often do you think there's been a decision made on a drum, like either a take or like an instrument used or whatever, that's like been so insignificant at the time, but it's like, man, like that wouldn't be that song without that. If you know what I mean.
I think that happens a lot.
You think it happens like just like, oh, can you just play this?
Yeah, I get
Cool.
super nerdy, right? So I used
Really?
to read, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I should mention.
Thank you, Luke Skywalker. No, I used to read drum magazines all the time. There was a magazine called Drumhead. It's still around. It's Jonathan Mover, who is a tremendous drummer. It's his magazine. And he did a huge spread with Matt Chamberlain, who's another massive session guy. And at the time, he was playing Craviotto drums. And he went into the studio and he set his kit up. He put his snare drum up. And they did a take. And the engineer was like, yeah, man, sounds great. And came into the live room and was like, oh, what's that snare drum? And he's like, oh, it's such and such. Oh, like, put that Black Beauty up. And it's like, yeah, that sounds better now. It's like he had no idea what drum he was playing ahead of seeing it. And he'd done a take and told him it sounded magic.
Oh, wow.
But then sees it's not a Black Beauty. It's like, no, it has to be that. It's like, so that stuff I think happens a lot.
Do you think that is then part of what you're talking about, how an engineer knows the room? They also know what gear will do what?
Oh, maybe, but
In a
like
way.
I just think it's fascinating that the guy who was like, yeah, it sounds amazing, man. And then was like, oh, it's not that? Oh, all of a sudden it doesn't sound amazing?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
well, dude, it sounded amazing a minute ago, so why are we changing it out? Oh, yeah, you know, just it's the drum, right? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? But certainly not me, because I've not got enough of a career in it. But it's really fascinating to hear these guys talk about it. To me, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting article that. Because he was talking about, you know, he played Istanbul and Agop and Craviotto, and he said, his whole thing was, I'll go to great lengths to get those particular products for a session, but if the engineer wants me to use a 63 new classic maple rather, then I'll use that, because if that's what the track needs, then that's my job.
Yeah.
You know, my job is not being precious about what cymbals I have to play on a session. It's more getting the sound right and getting the track right, you know.
This is, I don't know if you know this, but this is a big reason why Aaron Sterling of John Mayer, why he doesn't endorse a drum company. He has a cymbals, he has sticks, he has pedals, but he's like, man, I just want to be able to be free and use what I want to use for the songs, for the tracks. Yeah. Like, I think for John Mayer, he's playing a custom company in America called Sugar. They're called Sugar Percussion. And that's the kit he's using for touring with John Mayer.
That's really weird, because I had heard him, it's maybe changed, but he was talking about he had an old 60s thing. An old Pearl 60s thing, 2012-14, that he took out on tour, and Mayer would just ship it whenever they wanted to go.
Yeah, I think this Sugar kit's the same.
Right.
But it's just like, man, I don't endorse drums because I want to have the freedom of being able to use, like, oh, I feel like playing Ludwig today. You know?
Yeah.
And I totally get that. He's like, cymbals, Istanbul, for life, pretty much. But drums are the one thing I'll not endorse.
Do you follow, on Instagram, do you follow Blair Sinta?
I don't think I do.
He's great for all this stuff.
Really?
He played for Alanis Morissette at a point. He's played for Josh Groban, but he's also an LA session dude. And you'll see him play like 28-inch marching bass drums and like
cool.
Radio King snare drums, and using really weird brushes and sticks and all that stuff. and he's like that. I think he's Istanbul, but I don't know what drums he plays. But yeah, he's into the wacky, you know, checking all that stuff out. You know,
Yeah.
it's really, really great to see all that. You should follow his Instagram, man. It's really cool.
I think I will.
And
yeah.
you'll see him like he'll post footage of him doing a take, and like going back to what you're talking about, not playing hi hats, but he's playing the air.
Yeah.
You know, so that the right hand's still moving, and so it's all still in time, which I think is really hip.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just all about getting that sound, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah.
You know,
Like Aaron Sterling put up a video not too long ago, and it was of I'm gonna get this wrong, so I'm just gonna double check and make sure.
hmm he's a really good player. That guy.
He's phenomenal.
He's have you played his Istanbul Cymbals?
I have. I've had a go on the 22-inch ride,
Yeah.
and it sounds insane.
It sounds awesome. We sold another one the other day. Yeah, they're just super cool. So those cymbals are modelled after like a 60s Avidis and a 602.
Really?
Yeah, so he sent 2 cymbals to Istanbul. I got up and like, can you make these please? And they did. So yeah, they sound absolutely mega. He's a really interesting dude, that guy.
He's awesome. And like, so his Instagram stuff. Have you seen the stuff where he plays Back in Black, but he shifts it like a semitone or
Semiquaver.
a semiquaver?
Aye.
Sorry. I'm not technical with all this. I found a video I'm talking about, and he's got he put up a video of him playing with a early 2000s Ludwig hand hammered bronze 14 by 6.5.
Right.
And this drum sounds amazing. He calls it LeBron's James, which I thought was quite good. But this drum sounds amazing, and it's like just super, super fat sounding. It just it's amazing. Yeah, it's awesome. He's currently playing in the background. Yeah, just while I double checked it.
Where are you on all that big fat snare drum stuff for recording stuff?
I love it.
Right.
I think it's really great for achieving sound very, very quickly. I've used it on one recording.
Right.
So I think it was it last year? Year before 2018? It was 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing some demo recordings for the wedding band, and I had my 1960s Ludwig Superphonic
Right.
LM400,
Mm-hmm.
and I used it, and it was great for all the kind of like rockier kind of stuff,
Mhm.
and it was just that kind of sound. Engineers like great, and one of the songs we were recording, I can't remember which song it was specifically, but that sound just it wasn't working,
Right.
because it was just far too sharp, and like I'm perhaps at that point in time wasn't skilled enough tuning wise to get it to sound deeper than what it was.
Okay.
And it was old as well, and like the hardware's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
always
yeah,
the
I get
best
it.
on it, you know. So I was like, oh, I've got this in my bag, so just put a 14-inch just regular big fat snare drum on it. Boof.
Done.
Perfect.
Amazing.
Engineer's like, what snare's that? I'm like, dude, it's the same one. He's like, but how? And I'm like, well now. Have you used them a lot?
I've used them more live actually
Yeah, more
than I've used them in the studio. I need to buy another one because I was playing a 13 snare for the longest time, so I have a 13 big fat snare drum, but I don't have one for a 14. So I should get one. And yeah, it's like a really quick way to get that sound,
just really quickly.
like that really fat dead sound, really
Yeah.
in like no time at all. So,
And it's astonishing how quick it happens as well.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, so it's a different drum.
yeah.
Instantly a different drum. Have you ever experimented with one on a floor tom?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have.
What do you think?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
It's really
Yeah, I've
great.
done that as well. So even the 13 would work on the floor tom, but it moves around,
Yeah, that's
so I wouldn't put it on a snare for
Yeah.
fear of it like bouncing about and stuff. And the last thing you want is that kind of disaster.
and actually just off the back of you saying that, that's how my 13-inch one split, because I had it on a 14-inch floor tom and it was just kind of rolling around a little bit, and it just kept hitting it. And there's a little plastic kind of like grabber where you can like
yeah,
grab
sure.
it.
Aye.
That came off,
Oh no.
and then I hit it. Like I hit it, and that plastic thing came off because it was rolling around. It wasn't
Uh-huh.
staying stationary. And then because it was rolling around, my stick then caught the exposed part, and it started to kind of break.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's word to the wise.
Yeah.
Use the correct size.
Yeah, snare weights are a thing.
Yeah, snare
They're
rates are great. Paul used one in the studio.
He did, aye.
Yeah.
So he used a brass one with the 70s.
Half of the 70s.
Yeah,
I'd say.
half of the 70s thing. I'm a total convert for those, man. I was really skeptical when they came out about, is this just knitted and going to be a bit vibey?
Is this just a gimmick? But
Yeah,
it's totally not.
totally not. They are amazing. So, yeah, convert to those.
For anyone who's never used one before, There's a few different models. So there's the M1B, which is quite a small kind of piece of leather. That's kind of the first point of access to the Snailrate kind of brand. And it kind of is it's curved, so it fits onto the triple flange hoop, and it also fits round the kind of bearing edge of the drum. Sits on top of the head, and it magnetizes to the triple flange hoop. You've then got the next one up from that, which is the M80. So imagine that kind of small little leather times 2 as a one kind of piece. And they're really interesting. So how those guys work is when you strike the drum, it lifts off the head, and then gravity obviously takes over and it falls right back down. So it kind of acts almost like a natural gate for the drum. You're still getting the full tone of the drum, but none of the horrendous or potentially game-breaking overtones that you would usually get.
Yes. It's just a great piece
and
of
then
kit.
the big brass kind of accessory as well is just something else that just puts so much weight on the drum that it just kills all the overtones and all the kind of horrible noises, but still gives you a good
and
sound.
the M1s don't clip to die-cast hoops, so you need this because the hoop's too thick, and for some reason magnets and die-cast hoops don't go together. It must be
it's
something
weird.
in the process of making them. So yeah, the bigger one works for die-cast hoops as well. But yeah, they're a really great way to get that kind of sound as well.
They're
into
awesome.
that.
They also work on floor toms as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man.
Man, we got some real deep chat. I'm interested to, when we get our special guest on to talk about some engineering stuff, I'm interested to see the process from their perspective.
For sure.
As an engineer,
Yeah.
listening to a drummer, what are they listening for? What
Yeah,
are
yeah.
they, like, even frequency wise? Like,
how are your ears different from ours?
yeah.
You know, like, yeah, big time. On that note, guys, if you do have any kind of engineering or recording questions or topics that you would like us to try and broach, fire something at us.
Yeah. So, will we bring it home?
We'll bring it home, man, because we've been here for ages now. And
Do you need to pee again?
No, I don't need to pee again. I need to eat, though.
Yeah.
It's 8 p.m.
Wow. Is it 8 p.m?
It's 8 p.m.
See, that's
and
what
we've had a
happens.
full day at work.
That's what happens when you talk drums all day.
Yeah, brah.
Yep.
Instas. Okay. What's coming up? Do we have anything coming up events wise? I don't think we do. Like before the next one will be out.
I don't think we do at the moment, but keep an eye on all the socials. You can find us on Facebook at Drummers Only UK. You can find us on Twitter at Drummers Only UK. Instagram at Drummers Only UK. Go over to the website drummersonly.co.uk. You can find all the latest. Join the mailing list so you can get all the latest on
Do it.
discount codes, artist announcements, when your grand's having their next tea party, all that kind of good stuff. Will be on the mailing list, so make sure to subscribe to that. Come and see us in Glasgow and Leeds.
Yeah, we'll link I'll try and go through this and link the products that we talked about.
Yes.
EADs, snare rates, big fat snare, snare drums.
Which you can get on drummersonly.co.uk.
You can.
You can drop us an email if you've got any questions, or if you've got a Part X inquiry, or you've got all that kind of good stuff. You can do that on info@drummersonly.co.uk. And apart from that, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, leave a nice review, leave a nice rating if you want, and let us know how we're doing.
Yeah, please. Feedback is always greatly appreciated.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
Big or small.
Yep. Nothing else?
I'm good, man. Are you good?
Good. Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth.
See you next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye.